Hey everybody, in this video I want to talk about fear, how we can try to deal with fear. I want to share my experience with fear. I know some of you out there are like just life rock stars and you don't fear anything, and I admire that. I wish I could be like that in many ways. If you're like many of us, like myself, even into my very early 40s, there's still so much about life that I'm afraid of. It's something that I wasn't always like that. In my youth, and in my teen years, I wasn't afraid of anything really. I call it a naive, stupid bliss, but I was just a happy-go-lucky, not afraid of anything. And then I went through some pretty significant tragedies and failures in life, and which I've explained in other videos, and lost pretty much everything and have had to rebuild it. And since that time, and during that time, and since then, I've been inflicted with a lot of fear. A lot of it has to do with financial issues and just always being afraid of the bottom falling out again and everything just kind of falling into the cracks and losing it all again. But fear has been a companion that I've been fighting along with that kind of anxiety, and I've been fighting that for years now. That kind of changed about 6 or 7 months ago, maybe a little bit longer, where I am kind of done with being afraid. And some significant things happened in my life that changed that, and that's what I want to share with you in this video. So let's jump in. In my life now, over the last couple years, I have taken some big risks, some new adventures, some exciting adventures with my career and job and making money. And I've really gone out on a ledge and taken some risks and given up some big things to try to take on some new things. And failure is a huge possibility there, which I'll explain more about that in other videos and coming things that I'm doing and working on. But I've taken some big risks. And I would say 6 or 7 months ago, I noticed that I wasn't afraid. I noticed that unlike the previous years, fear wasn't really there anymore. And it wasn't like it was just something that I noticed. Like it was, a month or two, I was like, I haven't been afraid in like 2 months. I haven't felt any fear, really any stress, anxiety. And so what was it? What changed in me? And that's what I want to share. And I kind of look at two significant factors in that. Number one would be something that happened to our friend named Melina Boswell. We had joined a real estate investment club called New Wealth Advisors Club. It's an awesome group of people doing investments and house flipping and all that here in Southern California. And the founders and leaders of the club were Dave and Melina Boswell. And they were a husband-wife team that were just rock stars in life, the kind of people that you just want to be like them, and they were actually our mentors in this. Well, something happened about 5-6 months into our mentorship. Dave Boswell tragically was killed in a car accident, and it was one of those unexpected, tragic type things that just happened, and everybody's shocked and nobody knows what to do. And Dave and Melina were a symbiotic team in this. This business couldn't run without them. Dave was really the face, and the voice of the business, and Melina was a lot of the brains of the business. And really they worked together as a team, which made New Wealth Advisors Club what it was. And the club really couldn't function without one or the other one of them. They were just a perfect team. And so when Dave was tragically killed in the car accident, everybody wondered, what is Melina going to do? Something like that is just a complete life-changing, devastating tragedy that for many people would just cripple them, would throw them into a deep depression, would just wreck their lives for many years, if not for the entire life. Many people never recover from something like that. So everybody had their eyes on Melina, and Melina rose up to the occasion. Rebecca and I watched Melina stand. She did take her time off to grieve and go through that, but she came back a a woman of determination to basically take both wheels, her wheel and Dave's wheel, and drive the ship onward and in a new, better direction. And it was a genuine strength that arose in her. And what I think of, when I think of my fear disappearing in my life, I think back to the memorial service where Melina stood up and gave the message for Dave. It was just this strong, confident woman who was led by her faith. And really what it was her faith in God and her community that allowed her to do this. And we watched her do this right in the middle of her darkest time in her life. We watched her stand out of the ashes, and she declared, "I'm not going to be afraid." She declared no fear. And something in that, when I think of my fear disappearing in my life, I think back to that moment. And that act of courage and strength really stuck with me. It really inspired me.
I didn't stay in, continue to do this with each one of you, for each one of you, to be mediocre. I didn't stay in this to be lukewarm, right? I stayed in here to be on fire, which means I need you to catch on fire, right? I need you guys to get so on fire to do something big and giant and something that'll blow all of our minds. That's what I need you to do.
The only way she did that, though, was because of her faith that she had. Now, that goes into my second point of when I look back and think of where did my fear go? A lot of it has to do with my faith in God, my worldview as a Christian, and it's this overwhelming sense that what I'm doing in life right now is in God's will. I have this almost like I've never had before, just this driving conviction in my being that the course I'm taking is part of God's story for my life. God has a grand narrative that He's writing, this eternal story that He's writing. And we all have our own individual little stories that hopefully we can, we want to be a part of the grand narrative. And I just have, the last couple of years, Rebecca and I have really launched out in writing some books, in making a documentary, in creating videos like this, and making online courses, and trying to help people with cancer. Something in me just resonates that this is what God wants me to do. And that gives me an audacity. That gives me a courage which supersedes my fear. It's not that I'm completely without fear anymore. I still deal with the same fears that I did and that you do. I still worry about how we're going to pay bills and how we're going to do this and what's going to happen a year from now and how's, the kids' college. And I still have those stresses and fears, but I don't feel overwhelmed by them anymore because a new power has come into my life which now dominates that fear. It now puts that fear into check. And it is this audacious, bold conviction that I am headed in the path that God wants me to go. And that He is opening doors and providing this way for Rebecca and myself to pursue this. It just gives me a tremendous sense of comfort, power, conviction, and grit, and that perseverance that we all want. So, my fears didn't disappear, but I have come to the realization, to the place where I feel like I'm doing what God wants me to do. What that does is it allows me to just continue to push forward with ruthless abandon, no matter what the outcome is. I may fail. So what? I may die. Okay. There's a sense to where I don't really care what happens anymore. I'm so tired of stressing out over all the little stupid stuff in life. I'm so tired of making the concern of the moment a big deal in my life, and then having 20 big deals and 100 big deals every month and all this stress. And I kind of reached a point in a place in life where I just said, screw you, fear. Like, you're worrying about you does nothing for me. Whatever is going to happen is going to happen. And I'm going for it. And you can kiss my ass. Because Rebecca and I are going for it. And we're just going to ride this out and take it where it takes it. And, you know, you can go pound sand. And I don't know, I got like the courage to stand up to fear and put it where it belongs. The main reason, though, is my faith in God. And just that conviction that I'm part of this grand story that's being written, and it's exciting. And the needs that I have and that Rebecca has are going to be taken care of. Because it's not like Rebecca and I don't have stresses and worries. You know, it's not like Rebecca has the flu. She has stage 4 breast cancer. We have plenty to worry about. Okay, we've got plenty of concerns, but God's given us a peace and a courage to continue pushing forward and fighting this good fight, and whatever happens is going to happen. That's kind of where I'm at right now. And so I don't know, I hope something that I said will have inspired or encouraged you in some way in your life. And so that's what I got this time. So I'll see you guys in the next video.